What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Big Fight Field channel where we speak the truth, we're honest, and we give our takes on professional wrestling. It is Monday morning, April 13th, 2026, and this is your AEW Dynasty review. And right now, it is 12:42 a.m. as of recording. Okay. I'm very tired. It was a long show. It was a very long show. And my overall thoughts on the pay per view, I mean, it was good. It was good. It wasn't a typical great blown away AEW pay per view that we always get. I felt like it was the kind of show that we got at like Forbidden Door or Wrestle Dream or even World's End. I would say World's End was a pretty great show. But I would say a show like we got like Forbidden Door last year, like it was good. It wasn't great. There were some things on this show that I wasn't a fan of. I'm just going to be totally honest with you guys. Um I'm not going to lie to you. There were some things on this show that I didn't like. There are some things that were set up for Wednesday that I'm uh, I'm not too thrilled about, and we'll talk about it when we get to that main event match. But for those of you who just watched Dynasty this Wednesday on Dynamite in Seattle, it is going to be MJF defending the AEW World Championship against Darby Allin. I have a lot to say about that. And we'll get to that at the end when we talk about MJF versus Kenny Omega. But I would say this show started off really hot. I would say the first half of this show was pretty awesome. It was a pretty awesome first half of the show. There was a questionable decision in the middle of that awesome hour. But then the second hour, I'm not saying this, not the second hour, I'm sorry. The second half, I thought the second half was underwhelming. I thought the second half of the pay per view was underwhelming. And that was from the Jamie Hayter Tekla match on. That includes Will Ospreay versus Jon Moxley, by the way. We'll talk about that. But, I mean, overall, it wasn't bad. Okay? It's really hard for AEW to go out there and just have an overall bad pay per view. Like, for WWE, it's common. We're going into WWE shows thinking, how bad is it going to be? Like, I said on SmackDown, I'm going to say it all week. The thing I'm most excited about for WrestleMania this upcoming week is how bad is this? How bad is WrestleMania going to be this year? We go in with the expectation of WWE pay per views as how bad is it going to be? We go in the expectation of AEW pay per views. It's going to be a good pay per view. I'm excited. And that didn't change after tonight. It was a good show. It just wasn't one of their stronger pay per views. It definitely, it's definitely not on par to Revolution. I will say that much. Definitely not on part of Revolution. But um, we do have a lot to talk about. There is a lot that happened on this show tonight. So we will get into that. And I appreciate you guys who are tuning in to the Dynasty review tonight. We have a crazy week coming up, and I think I'll be doing videos every day this week. I legit think I'll be doing content every day this week. I didn't do a Phillies video today. I promise to get one in tomorrow. It probably won't be that long, but it was a rough week for our Fighting Phils. So, um, they won 2 out of 6. They lost both series to the Giants and Diamondbacks. So we'll talk a little bit about that tomorrow. But as far as wrestling content goes, WrestleMania week, it is the biggest week of the entire year. If you are a fan of professional wrestling, if you are a content creator, this is the biggest week of the entire year. It is this, and it is probably SummerSlam and All-In week. Um, this is the biggest week of the entire year for a wrestling fan. This week's schedule, there's going to be Raw on Monday. All right, Monday Night Raw review tomorrow night. Tuesday, I'm going to be doing WrestleMania Night 1 predictions. Okay, that's going to be Tuesday. Night 1 only. WrestleMania predictions. And then Wednesday is AEW. So we'll do AEW review on Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to be doing Night 2 predictions for WrestleMania. Friday, we got that awful, horrendous TV show called SmackDown. And then Um, and then Saturday and Sunday, we have WrestleMania. I'm just seeing on Twitter now that Kevin Knight is defending the TNT Championship Wednesday night against Claudio Castagnoli. Okay. Okay. We'll talk about that win. I like that. I like that a lot. So, um, without further ado, let me get to where I am. Let's go ahead and do this. So, we kicked off the night strong with the Young Bucks against Okada and Takeshita. This was the first match on the entire show. I was looking forward to this match. If you were to make a case at the end of the show that this was the match of the night, I wouldn't argue against you. My personal favorite match on the show was Adam Copeland and Christian versus FTR. Even though I was very shocked by the result, that was my favorite match on the entire show. And I'll get to it why. But this was my second. We start off with a double shoulder tackle by Okada Takeshita, an elbow drop by both guys. So, Don Callis is liking this. They're working hard. They shook hands. They're getting along during this match. Okada went for a drop kick. Nick fooled him. And then he hit a drop kick onto Takeshita while hitting a senton onto Okada. Nick gets the crowd hyped up. Then the Don Callis family take advantage, and Don Callis digs his fingers into the eyes of Matt Jackson. Then they wanted to do a little bit of showboating. Okada put on the Young Bucks headband. He put on the Young Bucks jacket. He was trying to get the crowd hyped up. He's looking for the tag at the Young Bucks corner. And Matt Jackson turns around. And Okada gives him the middle finger. So I thought that was good. I thought that was good comedy. I liked it. I like this spot a lot. both Bucks have Boston Crabs in on Okada and Takeshita, and Takeshita screams out, "Don't you dare tap!" And he starts slapping. He starts slapping Okada, and Okada slapped him, and Takeshita slapped him back. And Don Callis said on commentary, "This is a great way of teamwork." And I LOL'd at that one. That was great. Takeshita and Matt Jackson are on top rope, and Takeshita hits a over the head avalanche German suplex onto Matt Jackson. Okay, so he hits a German, and then he pulls the knee pad down, goes for the knee. Nick Jackson hits a super kick. Okada hits a beautiful drop kick. Okada goes for the Rainmaker. Matt ducks. Takeshita, big boot, running knee to Matt Jackson. 1, 2. Nick Jackson pushes Okada into the pile. The crowd in Vancouver is going insane. Which, by the way, one of the best things about this show tonight was the 9,000 people in Vancouver. This was a really good crowd for a wrestling pay-per-view. Really good crowd. So shout out to the fans in Vancouver tonight. We get to the teams brawling in the middle of the ring, and Okada and Takeshita, they bump into each other. And then Okada starts striking him with forearms. So this crowd is eating it up even more because these guys are hitting each other with forearms and they're on the same team. But they've been beefing for months. And then Matt Jackson comes up and they hit a double drop kick on the Matt Jackson. And then this was the ending. This was fucking awesome. Takeshita accidentally hits a knee onto Okada and genuinely looks sorry. And then later on, Okada accidentally hit a Rainmaker onto Takeshita. It was like, yeah, whatever. And then the ending was the Bucks are going to go for the win. They hit multiple super kicks onto Okada. Nick Jackson goes to the outside. Takeshita pulls him down. And he's grabbing his foot. And he looks up at Nick. And he just goes like, basically giving Nick Jackson the okay to hit this Meltzer driver and get the win for the Young Bucks. Don Callis is absolutely losing his mind on commentary over this finish with the actions of Takeshita, and the Young Bucks get the win. This match was awesome. Awesome tag team match. And the ending made it that much better. The ending of this match made it that much better. And now, hopefully, we are getting Okada and Takeshita at Double or Nothing. Because, man, when that match happens, that match is going to be fucking crazy. Crazy, dude. That will be the match. If that happens at Double or Nothing, that will be the match I'm looking forward to the most. It doesn't matter what else happens on that show. That match will be the match I'm most excited about because we've been waiting for it for months. So, I loved everything about this. The match was awesome. The finish was unbelievable. And the Young Bucks get the win. That's a big win for the Young Bucks over Okada and Takeshita. So we move on to the second match. And the second match was Ricochet versus Chris Jericho. And I thought for the sake of Chris Jericho, this needed to be a good match. And they didn't just have a good match. I thought these guys had a really good match. 16 minutes. And for 55, Jericho was great in this match. Really good. And this fucking crowd was cheering him all match long. So, you know what, man? Good for him. Despite what happened, it was a good fucking week for Chris Jericho, man. Good for him. So, he's messing with Ricochet, patting his bald head, whatever. Our first real highlight of this match was Ricochet was on the top rope. He jumps down. Jericho hits a big drop kick on the Ricochet. They're now on the ring apron. Ricochet hits a Pele kick. Ricochet then hits a Death Valley driver as Jericho bounces right off the ring apron, and he was selling his neck area, shoulder area, for the rest of the match. Aubrey Edwards checking on Jericho, making sure he could continue, and Ricochet just hits a tope on the outside. Jericho now back in the ring. Ricochet went for a drop kick. Jericho, he caught him. Ricochet just took a back bump, and Jericho hit a line salt, and Vancouver went fucking crazy for it. It's been a while since I've seen a fucking line salt, man. Wow. And it's also been a while since we've seen the walls. Jericho had the walls on Ricochet. Toa Leona distracted Aubrey. Bishop Khan threw Jericho into the turnbuckle. Ricochet with the cradle, but Jericho kicked out. Jericho gave Ricochet the 10 punches to the head on the top rope. And after punch number 10, Jericho hit a Hurricane Rana, moving like he's 30. Moving like he's 30. It was awesome. Ricochet later on, shooting star press, but Jericho, he countered it with a damn code breaker onto Ricochet, and Ricochet kicked out. And the ending came where Leona threw Jericho into the ring post, which set Ricochet up for Spirit Gun. So he hits Jericho with the Spirit Gun, and he's about to cover him, but Toa and Bishop Khan are like, wait, hit the line salt. So Ricochet hits a line salt, and that's how it ends. That's how it is. Now, I did have Ricochet winning this match, okay? I thought going into this that Ricochet was going to win this match because this was going to continue the feud. And I do think this feud is going to continue after the show because there was a ton of interference from Bishop Khan and Toa Leona. Lots of interference throughout that match. But at the end of it, I'm like shocked. I'm like, wow, Jericho really lost his first match back in over a year. But I gotta think going into it, coming out of it, I meant, he probably wanted to put Ricochet over because that's who Jericho is. He's wanted to put over a lot of guys in AEW. Christ. 2 years ago, this guy had a fucking feud with Hook and ended up putting over Hook at Wembley Stadium, of all places. That guy's going nowhere. That is a failed project for AEW. But Jericho probably went into it looking like, I'm going to put this guy over. Ricochet won clean. Not only did he win clean, he beat him with his own move. So, I do think Ricochet, I do think this feud's going to continue. Now, Jericho got heavy cheers. Big cheers this week in Edmonton, tonight in Vancouver. It was great. I'm curious to see. Now, we're not in Canada anymore. We're not in his home country anymore. We're going to be in the States on Wednesday. They're going to be in Seattle. I'm very curious to see what the reaction to Jericho is going to be. Are they going to forgive and not boo him like crazy like they did last year and in 2024? Or are they going to, cheer him like the Canadian crowds have? That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting for sure, but I think we're heading towards another Ricochet and Jericho match, probably on TV. Probably on TV. I don't think they're waiting all the way until Double or Nothing for another match. That moves us to Darby Allin versus Andrade. And if Darby Allin won, Darby Allin would be the number one contender for the AEW Championship. And what crazy spot was Darby Allin going to do in this match? Well, these guys were fighting in the crowd. And they're fighting up the steps. And this guy, Darby, hits a jumping drop kick to Andrade and lands back first onto the white steps at the Rogers Arena in Vancouver. And that back bump looked like it sucked. But overall, it was a good match. The crowd was into Andrade after he took his pants off. Darby is Darby. Darby was good. And he hit the coffin on Andrade. And Andrade kicked out. And at the end, Darby was able to get the Last Supper, which is his small cradle finisher, onto Andrade. And he pinned him clean. And at the end of it, Andrade was like kind of shook about what happened and didn't know what to think. And then he just stood there and he shook hands with Darby. He offered to shake hands with Darby Allin and kind of put him over like a baby face after the match. I bet Don Callis can't be too happy with that. He's got two guys in his faction now, in his family, teasing to leave with Takeshita and Andrade. They've been trying to prevent Darby from getting a world championship match because Don Callis is working with MJF. And now and then Andrade, one of Callis' guys, is shaking hands with Darby Allin. How's Callis going to receive to that? That should be interesting. That should be an interesting part on TV coming up. Is Andrade showing respect to Darby Allin after the match. So that leads us. I'm going to get a sip of my soda real quick. that leads us to the AEW Tag Team titles. Christian Cage and Cope versus FTR. Christian coming all bandaged up after FTR damaged his left wrist on Dynamite this past Wednesday. So, Cope and Cash Wheeler start the match. Cash Wheeler spits gum in Cope's face, and we get a hockey-style brawl between both tag teams. We get a double team from Cope and Christian. We get Christian standing on the rope to choke out Dax Harwood, and then he would later do the same to Cash Wheeler. Dax went for a clothesline, but Christian ducked. Dax had Christian in a suplex position. Christian, he's technically a babyface teaming with Cope, but, he's still an asshole. He's still acting like an asshole. And I love it. I love Christian Cage. I'm going to be really sad when he hangs it up. This run he's had in AEW. Okay, when I remember when he signed with AEW, how underwhelmed everybody was. But honestly, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, Christian Cage has been one of my... AEW's been a thing for like 6-7 years now. 6 years. In 6 years of AEW, one of my favorite signings that they've ever had is Christian Cage. I'm just putting it out there. This guy, I feel like he was always in WWE. He was always overshadowed by Adam Copeland. That was always the case in WWE. And in AEW, with their tag team, I'm more into Christian Cage than I am Adam Copeland. I'm just going to be totally honest with you. Out of both of them, I prefer Christian Cage more, bro. I do. He's an asshole, but he's awesome. How can you not love Christian Cage? So, now they start working his elbow. Cash throws Christian Cage's elbow into the ring post. So they work on his elbow for literally 7 minutes, doing everything in the book you can imagine. Copeland gets the hot tag, and he's running roughshod on Dax, and Cash Wheeler goes to grab one of the tag titles. Christian sees it, and he's playing tug of war with Cash, with one of the tag team titles. And Cash wins the tug of war and is able to hit Cope with the tag team title. Dax rolls him up, but Copeland kicks out, and he's now bleeding in the process. So we have color. I think this was the only match that, I could be wrong, but I think this was the only match that had some color, was this match. So this was also a very clever spot by Christian Cage. Dax had a move on Cope, and Dax went for a cover, and Christian Cage's way of breaking up the pin was just throwing Stokely right into the mix. I loved it. So Cash now was going in with a chair, and Christian Cage grabs the chair, and Stokely grabs it, and Christian pushes him away. But where am I here? Stokely grabs the chair. Christian pushes Stokely into the ring post with the chair, but then Cash um, pushes Christian into the ring post, head first into the chair, and he throws Christian over the timekeeper area, and they've isolated Christian Cage away from this match. So it is now 2-on-1. It is FTR versus Cope. FTR looks for double knees, but Cope is able to hit a double spear. FTR or Cope looks for a spear on Cash. Cash hits a sunset rollout. FTR hits Shatter Machine, and in a shocking result, FTR retain the tag team titles. You heard me right, ladies and gentlemen. FTR retained the tag team titles after I thought for sure, I thought for sure that Adam Copeland and Christian Cage were going to win this match. They got assaulted. They destroyed Christian Cage's elbow Wednesday night to set it up for this match. Okay, they were the last team standing on Wednesday night. And I thought this was a no-brainer that they're going to give Copeland Christian this moment. They're in their home country of Canada. Not exactly Toronto, but they're in Vancouver. I thought for sure they were going to give them their moment right here. They did not. They did not give them their moment here, which I was definitely shocked by, for sure. But this makes me feel like there's something bigger planned with this feud. And I don't know what they can do besides a combination of FTR, Copeland Christian, and the Young Bucks, because the end goal at Allin should be FTR, Copeland Christian, and the Young Bucks in a TLC match for the tag team titles. That should be the end goal of all of this. I don't see the Young Bucks getting another tag team title match because another straight up tag team title match against FTR, because we just saw that. And I understand that we just saw this match with FTR versus Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, but there's more legs to the story of those two teams, in my opinion. Right? Cope and Christian, they won the first match at All Out. FTR, they won the second match at Dynasty tonight. I feel like, this is my opinion, I feel like there's something bigger planned. I feel like there's a bigger match planned. And if they're going to do another match between these two teams before All In, I can absolutely see them doing a Copeland Christian versus FTR title versus careers. Where if Copeland Christian lose to FTR, they're done. They retire. And FTR is obviously sacrificing the tag team titles while Cope and Christian sacrifice their careers. And if that's the case, that legitimately could be the main event of Double or Nothing. That could actually be the main event of the next pay-per-view. If that is the case. And I mean, if they win the show, if they win those titles at Double or Nothing, I am so down with that. There is going to be a bigger crowd at that show than it was tonight. And just adding the stipulation of putting their career on the line, it could add to that moment. But I got a feeling that's where we're heading. And then from there, we could get to our end game of that TLC match at Allin. So, FTR, they retained the tag team titles tonight, which I absolutely did not expect. Then we go to the Casino Gauntlet for the TNT Championship. And our 10 competitors were Tommaso Ciampa, Roosh, Bandito, Speedball Mike Bailey, El Clone, Pac, Daniel Garcia, Anthony Bowens, Kevin Knight, and Wheeler Yuta. And I saw a tweet yesterday of who like fans believe should walk out of this show as TNT champion. And all I did was put a gif of Kevin Knight and I said, let the Jet go to work. And historically, in AEW Casino Gauntlet matches, the number one entrant never wins. So Tommaso Ciampa was not going to win this match. I didn't think Roosh was going to win this match either. So I had Kevin Knight, I had Mike Bailey, and I had Brody King in my mind because Brody King didn't have a match on this show. Brody King wasn't even in this match. But Kevin Knight winning was the best case scenario. He has came far since, his first, like, I remember seeing him last year at Dynasty in Philly, and he had just signed with AEW. He opened up the show against Will Ospreay in an absolute amazing opener. And, the guy has come so far. He really has. He has come into his own. He was awesome in the Continental Classic. He had an incredible TV main event with Swerve Strickland this year. And he is like putting on bangers with main event level talents. So, to me, I know he was in this tag team with Mike Bailey, but to me, putting this title on Kevin Knight was the best possible outcome coming out of this match. And him defending the TNT Championship every week on Dynamite or Collision. We're already getting his first title defense is Wednesday night against Claudio. I love it. We need to see that guy every week or every other week defending the TNT Championship on either Dynamite or Collision. He needs to be consistently defending that TNT Championship. So, I love this move. Kevin Knight is the new TNT champion. Let that man go to work, man. Please. Let him do his thing. Jamie Hayter versus Tekla. AEW Women's Champion. I thought they had a decent match. It was decent. They gave him time, which I liked. 16 minutes. Just the ending. It was a little wonky. Wonky. Very, very weird finish. A roll-up, which looked botchy, and then another roll-up, which Tekla then held onto the rope. Tells me we're going to get another match. Probably on Dynamite or whatever, but, I mean, right now, I'm just very confused with the direction of this women's division. No Tony Storm for a while hurts. Don't get me wrong. That hurts because that was probably going to be the woman who beat Tekla. I don't know what they're doing with Chris Statlander. Jamie Hayter is in a tag team with Alex Windsor. which gave me all the reason not to think that she was going to win this match. And right now, their biggest babyface in the women's division is holding the TBS championship. So like, she's not going to be contending for the women's championship anytime soon. So what do they do? I'm guessing their only option at this point is to bring back Mercedes Moné as a babyface. Mercedes Moné is way better as a heel than she is a babyface. But that legit, right now, that could be their best. That's probably their best option right now, is to bring back Mercedes as a babyface and have her feud with Tekla. That's probably their best option, if I'm honest. But outside of that, I'm just confused with the direction of the women's division right now. Technically, if Willow Nightingale was not the TBS champion, she could challenge Tekla. That's a really good challenger for Tekla. But Jamie Hayter, she's in a tag team, so she's not going to win. But the way they did this match tonight, they're probably going to have another match on Dynamite, I would assume. I would assume that's a Dynamite match in the coming weeks. So, decent match. And Tekla retains the AEW Women's Championship. Okay. Just checking Twitter real quick. Okay. Claudio versus Kevin Knight, Camille versus Willow Nightingale, and Darby Allin versus MJF. So we got 3 title matches on Spring Breakthrough Wednesday night. We'll talk about the whole MJF Darby thing after the main event. Will Ospreay versus Jon Moxley for the Continental Championship. First of all, who the fuck on the production team okayed the idea of Renee Paquette doing the interview during the crowd chanting Ospreay, Ospreay in the middle of his entrance? What the fuck? You got 9,000 people screaming their head off for Will Ospreay's theme music, but we can't hear it because we got to listen to Renee Paquette report. I didn't like that. The bell rings, and we immediately get Will Ospreay hitting a hidden blade onto Jon Moxley, which Moxley looked completely dazed from that hidden blade. Then he gets hit with another one, and he goes to the outside. So now they're fighting, and Ospreay has Moxley's head into the steel steps, and he's about to stomp right into it, but Moxley bails. Ospreay, oh shit, I lost where I was at. I gotta get back to this, hold on. I apologize, guys. Ospreay jumped off the top rope and got hit with a forearm by Jon Moxley. Now they're on the top rope. Moxley hits him with a German, but Ospreay lands on his feet, goes for another hidden blade. Moxley half and half suplex, goes for a clothesline, but Ospreay, he hits a sit out power bomb for a close two. Ospreay goes for the Os cutter, but Moxley then hits him with a paradigm shift. Ospreay went for a roll up. He countered it into a beautiful Styles Clash for a close near fall. He then went for a Tiger Driver, but he couldn't do it because his hand gave out. Then they're fighting on the outside. And Moxley has the better of him for a little bit. And I did not like the ending of this match because this man, Will Ospreay, is just coming back from neck surgery. And in his first match back on pay-per-view, he got hit with a pile driver onto steel steps. Not a fan. Not a fan. Then he got hit with a curb stomp. He kicked out. 2 paradigm shifts in a row. He kicked out. And then, crowd's going crazy. Moxley hits him with a Death Rider. And that's it. That is it. Jon Moxley retains. Like a clean white sheet of paper. He beat him clean as a sheet of paper. I understand that Will Ospreay winning the Continental Championship was not the way to go. Definitely not the way to go here. But I'm also not a fan of him taking a pinfall loss clean in his first pay-per-view match back since neck surgery. Not a fan of that. However, thinking about it, like, I was pissed after that match. Like, my initial reaction from that match was I was pissed when Ospreay lost. Did not like it at all. I thought it was going to be a draw. And honestly, if this match ended in a draw, I'm probably in the minority. I would have been okay with it. I actually would have been a fan of a draw. But they opted with Will Ospreay losing clean to Jon Moxley. Whatever. I mean, I hated it in my initial reaction. I hated it. My guess now is Will Ospreay has to go on a redemption arc. He has to go on a redemption arc, and I guess they can tell. And I mean, I don't know about telling an underdog story 3 years in a row for Allin, because they did it with Bryan Danielson when he went up against Swerve. They did it last year with Hangman Page against the Death Riders. I don't know if we need an underdog story 3 years in a row. That's just me. That's my opinion. That could very well be the option AEW takes, though. But for me, the only way they can make this up is not only does Will Ospreay win the Owen Hart tournament this year, he beats Jon Moxley along the way. He's got to beat Jon Moxley in that tournament. Whether Jon Moxley is Continental Champion or not, he needs to beat Jon Moxley to get his revenge. You're gonna make him look like a total geek, if he doesn't just get his revenge on Jon Moxley. And it's just we're gonna wipe our hands, and we're gonna walk away. I don't like that. He has to beat him, whether it's a semifinal match or it's in the finals. Whenever, he has to beat Jon Moxley as a step of the way to get to this hopeful main event match at All In for the AEW World Championship. They gotta have him beat Jon Moxley. But I mean, that'll be. I'll be okay with this finish. I'm only okay with the finish tonight is if he beats Jon Moxley in the Owen Hart tournament. If he doesn't, what the fuck are we doing here? Why? You know what I mean? It was a really good match. Don't get me wrong. It was a really good match. But the finish took it away from me, man. The finish took it away from me. Trios titles. Orange Cassidy, Roderick Strong, and their mystery partner, which ended up being Kyle O'Reilly, against the Dogs. And this match went shorter than it was initially planned for. Gabe Kidd suffered a separated shoulder, which absolutely fucking sucks. The Conglomeration won. Kyle O'Reilly got the hot tag, and I felt like they immediately ended that match. It only went 10 minutes. Probably didn't even need to be on the... Excuse me. I get Kyle O'Reilly making his big return in Vancouver, his hometown. I get it. It's a great moment. I bet it was an amazing moment for Kyle O'Reilly. This match didn't need to be on the pay-per-view. And now Gabe Kidd has a separated shoulder. So I guess for now, Clark Connors and David Finlay will be in the tag team division, I guess. But apparently, according to Brian Alvarez, who was at the show, Gabe Kidd got medical help in the middle of the match. They took him away from the match. And the Conglomeration was always going to win this match. The injury didn't change the result whatsoever. They were always going to win that match. So, I don't know why, but they are... The last month, they have hot potatoed the Trios titles over to the Don Callis family, then to Jet Speed and Mystico. Then they dropped them on Collision Saturday to the Dogs, and then 24 hours later, they were going to have the Dogs lose to the Conglomeration. We're just hot potatoing the Trios titles around. So, now it's time for our main event. Main event, MJF defending the AEW World Championship against Kenny Omega. Big fight fuel going into this one. No pun intended. This was a great main event. This was a great main event. Do not get me wrong. Great match. But this match started at 11:38, and this match went 38 fucking minutes. And while, I mean, I don't know, I was engaged the whole time watching MJF and Hangman at Revolution. The entire time I was invested in that match. There was points in that time in this match where like I'm sitting back, I'm slouching back, I'm like I'm so tired. Like I just want this show to end. It got me back. They brung out a table. The crowd popped for it. We'll just go here. Kenny dragged the table onto MJF, hit a diving foot stomp onto MJF, who's holding the table. And then MJF, he has control in the ring. And he looks to hit Kenny with a V-trigger, but then Kenny counters. And he hits MJF with a Snapdragon. MJF then got nailed in the face with a V-trigger by Kenny Omega. A moonsault on the outside to MJF by Kenny Omega. Then we got MJF on the top rope, who then got kneed in the face again by Kenny Omega. We got a top rope one-winged angel, which got the crowd to pop. But it took Kenny Omega 30 seconds to get in the cover before this guy could kick out. And if he covered him sooner, he probably would have won the fucking match. Oh no, I'm sorry. MJF rolled out. If he didn't wait 30 fucking seconds to go for the cover, Kenny Omega would be the AEW World Champion right now. So he goes for it again. But MJF counters and he yells out, Crossroads. So he hits a Cody Rhodes Crossroads. He hits a package pile driver. And Kenny kicked out at 2. Kenny went for the one-winged angel. MJF ducked out. He jumped off. And he pulled Bryce Remsburg to get hit by a one-winged angel. So this now, I'm like, wait a second. Got a ref bump in the main event for the world title. Am I watching a WWE show here? Or am I watching AEW? Because this is literally all their finishes in WWE world title matches. A ref bump. So, Kenny hit the one-winged angel. The crowd counted to 10. And then another ref, Paul Turner, ran down. And MJF kicked out. So MJF kicked out at the one-winged angel. That was Kenny's second one-winged angel of the match. And then, while Bryce Remsburg got knocked out, MJF went into his pants pocket, took the Dynamite Diamond ring, and they're fighting on the outside. And MJF takes a rib shot with the Dynamite Diamond ring right into Kenny Omega's ribs. He hits a tombstone through the table on the outside. So Kenny Omega ends up going through the table, which was a part of the finish. Heat Seeker. And MJF retains the AEW World Championship. It was a great match. I will say. It was a great World Championship match. Again, my only complaint is it started at 11:38 and it ended around 12:16. The match was just too long. It was too long. That's my only complaint from that match. Outside of that, it was a great match. Personally, wasn't my favorite match of the night. I would give that to the tag team title match. Despite the result, I thought that was a really strong tag team match. I would either give it to the FTR Copen Cage match or the opener. That was incredible. Um, so now we move forward to Wednesday. Spring Breakthrough in Seattle, Washington. MJF defending the AEW World Championship against Darby Allin. And there is a very good chance Darby Allin wins the AEW World Championship Wednesday. As a matter of fact, I think they're going to do the title change Wednesday. I think Darby Allin is going to win the AEW World Championship Wednesday night from MJF. And if I'm going to be honest with you guys, that's a mistake. And I'm going to tell you why. Darby Allin is fantastic. Darby Allin is a great wrestler. Darby Allin is one of the faces of AEW. This guy literally climbed Mount Everest and planted an AEW flag on top of Mount Everest. He is forever. He is a lifer in AEW. He ain't going anywhere. And it would be wrong for Darby Allin to never be a world champion in AEW. Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. It would have made perfect sense. It would have made perfect sense for Darby Allin to be the guy to beat Jon Moxley when we had the reign of terror from Jon Moxley and the Death Riders. Darby was honestly the best option to win the world title from Jon Moxley. But he went to go climb Mount Everest. And he made it to Allin. He was a part of the main event of Allin. But they opted to go with Adam Hangman Page beating Jon Moxley and becoming a 2-time AEW World Champion. So the most sense it would have made for Darby Allin to win an AEW World Championship was last year at All In against Jon Moxley, but they opted with Adam Page. It is a mistake, okay? It is a mistake taking the AEW Championship away from MJF. At this point, the biggest obstacle standing in MJF's way was Kenny Omega. MJF beat Kenny Omega tonight. MJF is having a great reign. He is having a great reign as AEW World Champion right now. Ticket sales are up. Pay-per-view buys are up. I hate talking about ratings. I don't give a fuck about TV ratings. But ratings are up. This is all while MJF is AEW World Champion. I think taking the title away from him and putting the title on Darby Allin, it is a mistake. And number one, they're not slick. This is they would do this during WrestleMania week, and I understand. Listen, I understand. There have been plenty of times where WWE has been counterproductive against AEW TV. Double or Nothing last year. Forbidden Doors. Allin, they had 3 shows the same weekend as Allin. It didn't matter. Neither of their shows were even close to how good Allin was. Um, Counterproductive against All Out with their first show on ESPN, which, by the way, was an abomination of a pay per view with WrestlePalooza. There have been plenty of times where WWE has counter programmed AEW. And AEW is going to try to steal WWE's thunder with it being Wrestle. I mean, there's no excitement at all. There's literally no excitement at all for WrestleMania this year. There's literally there's not a single reason that's good for why Tony Khan should take the AEW World Championship off of MJF. There's not. And we are 4.5 months away from All In at Wembley Stadium. And I don't know, man. I love Darby Allin. I do. But at this point, MJF should go to Wembley Stadium as the world champion. Are we really going to sacrifice a great, long, beneficial world title reign from MJF for Darby Allin, who's going to be world champion for no longer than 4 months? Do we really want that? And I feel like Darby Allin beating MJF for the world championship would bring more criticism than it would fans being excited. So, I'm a little bit scared for what's going to happen Wednesday night because I actually think Darby Allin's going to win the world title. You want my honest thoughts? You want my honest thoughts on what I think is going to happen Wednesday night? I think Darby Allin's going to beat MJF. I think at this point, it's in Seattle. It is WrestleMania week. AEW is going to try to steal the headlines from WWE. I think Darby Allin is going to win the AEW World Championship this week. And at this point, Darby Allin's going to go to Wembley as AEW World Champion. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I could be totally wrong, and MJF wins, and I would be thrilled. But I think Darby Allin's going to win this match Wednesday. I do. So, overall, I thought tonight it was a good pay-per-view. All right, I'm tired. It is 1:50 in the morning as I'm ending this recording. And I will see you guys later on. All right, I'm going to go get some sleep, edit, upload this podcast. Subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to comment your thoughts on the show. Hit the like button if you liked what you heard from me. And follow me on Twitter and TikTok, Conlin_Joseph. All right, guys. Have a good night. Stay safe. And as always, stay classy. I'm out. Peace.